I mean, this whole furor that happened after the cartoons, first of all, a couple of years ago, and then finally the movie itself. It's a bit ironic that people would resort to violence to express outrage, because very much like Christianity, where you have the philosophy of turning the other cheek and then really forgiving and not responding, not having this eye for an eye mentality. There are very similar stories in Islamic history that are taught to our kids, and about how, regardless of all the persecution you have and regardless of all the hardships you go through, you're not supposed to you're not supposed to respond in the same way. You're supposed to hold yourself to a higher moral standard. And so for them to see this movie and then, in defense of the person who taught them all this entire philosophy of peace and not dragging yourself into it, to respond with riots is ironic. What does this whole thing, where has this ended up? Movies enrage people and it stays in their head for a couple of months, but you would argue that the invasion of a country is much more lasting. I don't think US or Western Islamic relations were really hit by this specifically. It didn't help, and it obviously damaged the relationship, but it's not the fundamental factor. I think foreign policy has a much more powerful, lasting effect on the relations of peoples than one filmmaker's obscure movie that very few people have actually seen.